You're thinking of the Doppler effect. That's why a zebra passing at 50 miles an hour looks red, right?
Is that the butterfly effect?
I thought we were talking about like weather.
Yeah, today we're talking about conferences.
Woo woo.
Woohoo! Welcome to the bar.
Everybody's favorite.
Pull up a seat. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Bring a beverage. You're going to need it.
Yeah.
Are they worth it? Yes.
Absolutely.
Are they all worth it?
Perhaps. We don't know.
Some probably more than others. And everybody's going to have an opinion.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going for when you go to a conference? You got to decide that first.
Why are you going? Yep. What are you going to get out of it?
You going to network or you going to actually learn something?
Or are you going because of the FOMO?
That's probably the worst reason to go.
Wow.
Right? But it
It is.
happens. Tell me it
That's
doesn't
the expensive
happen.
reason.
It absolutely
It's a very
happens.
expensive reason. But I met folks at the last one who really just bought a ticket last minute because they were having that, oh my gosh, I'm missing out on something. I need to be there. Did they?
Wow. Well, there's quite a few conferences, some bigger than others. But they're spread out pretty far. I mean, there's one in Canada, from what I understand.
Really?
I don't think they're doing it anymore. VO North.
Yeah, that's the one.
I think stopped when the pandemic came. I think they stopped and they haven't started it again. They may.
Okay.
They may at some point, but they haven't yet. Which is unfortunate because that would be the closest to us.
It really would.
But I've been kicking around the idea of maybe starting one here because there's nothing up here.
Tell people where your here is. For those who don't know.
People don't know where my here is? Well, I guess I don't sound like my here, do I? And neither does Al.
No, you don't.
Neither of you
You've
do.
lost your here.
Where's your there?
I never had a here in my voice. I'm in central Minnesota. Al's in Duluth.
Almost northern Minnesota, but I don't sound like that either.
No, you sound like down south.
Kinda.
Kinda. A little bit.
And you're from New York, right?
Yeah. I'm originally from the Midwest, right? Smack dab in the middle of the country. But yes, grew up in New York.
I gave you the opening to use your accent.
You did. I mean, for
you failed.
Long Island? Yeah. I married a Long Islander.
No. Now we're talking.
I married him for the accent. Maybe. And then some. Ba-dum-bum. And how he puts
Mr. Johnson.
How he puts things in a drawer.
In a draw.
D-R-A-W. Draw.
Yes.
It's in the drawer. So yeah, there's that.
Phonetically correct.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm actually living in the desert Southwest. Not sure why, but not going to stay here for my whole life. Okay. So, conferences.
Conferences.
So there's plenty of them out east. There's plenty of them down
Yes.
south. There's one out west, at least one out west. There's nothing in the middle or the
But
north.
sometimes that's why people go to conferences because of their proximity to where they live, right?
Sure.
Versus
So
maybe
one here?
picking one.
Is that the proximity effect?
Proximity effect. You're really good
No.
at that.
You're thinking of the Doppler
You're
effect.
welcome.
That's why a zebra passing at 50 miles an hour looks red, right?
Is that the butterfly effect?
The Doppler effect is not just sound; it's visual too. So, like a red car can look green.
I thought we were talking about like weather.
I thought we were talking
Weather
about VO
what?
conferences.
Here's your Light 101
Oh,
FM
VO
podcast.
conferences. Back
Yes.
to the subject.
Back
Yes.
to the thing that we're here for
If
in
you're
the podcast.
taking notes, start taking them now.
Because we are raising the VO bar.
Are we?
Well,
Love it.
we're going to
We're
try.
at least sitting at the VO bar.
That's
We
true.
may end up under
Yes.
the bar this time.
Yeah, well, there's that. I can't feel my face.
Mm.
There was that.
You know, we didn't have a drink of the show the last couple episodes. We got to make up for that.
We do.
God.
We do.
We need a 2-drink minimum for this one.
Well, let's start with the last conference we were all at,
All right, let's
Okay.
do that.
which is also the first conference we were all at together.
That's true.
Yeah.
It was actually my first in-person. I had done.
Was it?
Yes. It was my first in-person conference. And so we're talking about SOVAS,
That's voiceover.
That's
Yep.
voiceover.
Society of Voice Arts and Sciences. That was my first in-person. I had done their online version. And because it was close to where I lived, I was able to drive there last year to Los Angeles. So that was a plus for me. But
And by last year, you mean 2022?
Sorry. Yes. Thank you. So 2022 was the first time, but I do realize that was a little bit of, what's that term? Lightning in a bottle or lightning in a jar?
Tiger by the tail.
Whiskey in a jar.
Oh, see, I like the whiskey thing. Okay. But the idea that that particular conference offered a lot of amazing opportunities, but not necessarily equal for everybody attending, right? So I know that the experience I had was very different from, any other attendee.
Sure.
And I think that's important to note because I think there's other conferences that you guys have attended where it's, you can actually get into an X session, which I think you guys can talk to that a little bit more than I can because I haven't been to that particular conference that offers those, where you can buy a ticket, provided you get it in on time. SOVAS, that's Voiceover Career Expo. I'm not quite sure how you get into some of their extra events, like their speed dating event.
You have to audition.
You audition for the CBS Spotlight.
Well, but even with the speed dating, you're auditioning by submitting your demo.
Yes.
Right.
We don't know the vetting process or what's involved, but effectively you're submitting yourself for consideration.
And it was lovely. All three of us got into that this past year.
Yes. In 2023, we all did. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that was a wonderful opportunity. However, we didn't see as many folks as we had hoped for. And there were two people I really, really wanted to see. And because of the way the room was working and the pacing of things, it didn't quite work out that generously as it had in the past because of some hiccups that were during that session. But again,
it was unfortunate.
It was unfortunate. But the three of us, out of all of those folks that were there, each of us got an opportunity to go there. So that was definitely a big plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, there was, I don't know, it's a different type of conference. That one, yes, it's kind of neat that often some of the speakers are kind of roaming around and you can kind of catch them in a hallway. Although you have to kind of be careful with that too, right? You don't want to be chatting up a casting director or an agent in the, ladies or men's room. That's really awkward. But the idea that they do kind of...
You don't want to do that?
No, Al.
Stay out of their stall.
Yeah, take that note.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stay out of their stall. Don't dry their hands for them.
No. Just big no.
Wait till they're at lunch and then,
sit at their table.
Face.
Yes.
Hey, you got a little something? Let me get that for you. No, but that is a different type of conference. Like I've also been to Vocation or eVocation, which is the online version of it. And that was completely different, totally different experience, as is, I think, One Voice and VO Atlanta, right? Do you guys have any other experiences with other conferences outside of those that I mentioned? Yeah? Which one?
I don't. Isn't there one that's on a cruise?
There is. Yeah. There's one that's on a VO cruise.
But is that new this year or did they do that before?
No, they've done it before.
Oh.
They stopped for COVID, of course, but...
Yeah.
Of course.
It's been back.
I wasn't aware of that until this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they did it in 2023. Doing it again in 2024. I haven't been.
Yeah,
I've been on
SOVAS
cruises.
is the only one
if I go on a cruise, I think I want to just go cruise. I think, we should probably all take a chance to talk about our experiences because our experiences at the same conference were certainly not the same.
Right.
So the first time at SOVAS, or that's Voiceover, I suppose, I didn't get picked for any of the other things. So, the highlight of that experience for me was connecting with people, you two and some of the other folks that we'd done some workshops with in person, just online. And so getting to connect with them in person and whatnot. But the actual programming didn't really do a whole lot for me. Now, my experience may be different than most people because my background as a developer, the conferences that I'm used to are very different, right? They're very technical, and just about every presentation will be some kind of teachable moment or something that I can take and use in my career. Whereas I didn't feel like that was the case for any of the programming.
Except for when we were listening to the podcasting.
Except for the podcast thing, which we looked at each other and went, hey, we should do a
Hey, we should
podcast. And here we are finally a year later.
Mm-hmm.
We're finally 13 months later.
Miracles
Right.
happen.
Yeah, but I sat through most of the sessions in 2022, the first time I was there. And, I just kind of had a general feeling of, meh, it's a thing. It's not really my thing. But it was nice to hang out with some people. I think if you're going to go, probably the biggest highlight of that conference in particular is going to be networking with people, more so than the programming, because there's no teachable, take this nugget of info and go use it and further your career. It's a series of panels of people talking about a given topic to each other in front of you for the better part of an hour, and then maybe taking about 5 minutes of questions, which tend to be occupied by the same people over and over, seems like.
Well, we're voice talent. We like to be heard.
That's true. Some more than others.
But it is true. It seems like it's more talking at you versus kind of bringing you into the conversation, or having more of a, I was going to actually use the word, like a discourse or a discussion.
Yeah. And this past year, I had maybe a little bit better experience, partially because I got into the speed dating, although I was disappointed with how it played out, because I felt like I should have gotten to see a lot more people than I did. But it is what it is. And a lot of people didn't get in the room. So there's that.
That's what I hear. I don't know how we got picked.
Yeah. No idea.
Don't know.
No idea.
I mean, other than we're just awesome, but still.
But I also got to connect with some people in person again, and went and had breakfast near the beach and walked on the beach. And I finally got to have a meal and hang out in person with my coach, who I worked with for over a year beforehand, had never met in person before. And so, yeah, it was good for lots of reasons that weren't necessarily because of the conference. But I was lucky enough to attend as Victoria's +1 because she won the scholarship last year. And so she had tickets for this year and invited me. So I paid for my hotel and my flight and my food and the bar.
I was going to say, and the bar.
And the bar. And the Havana staycation, which
so
can
good.
be... That can be the drink of the show for the past 3, and for all of them. It's a wonderful drink. Where was that? I forget the name of the bar.
Trucksters or
That's it, Trucksters. It was right next door to Paco's Tacos.
It was.
I remember that.
It was. It was. Who can forget Paco's Tacos?
Right there near LAX.
One of them was enough. I got through one, ordered a second. I don't know why I ordered a second. I got through one, ordered the second.
He's like, I can't feel my face.
2 sips into the second, my face is a little numb.
That's how good the first one was. He doesn't know why he ordered the second one.
Because they taste so good.
It was so good. Dangerously strong.
Very good.
So
yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking over the, since this was the conference that we all went to, like I said, I haven't been to VO Atlanta or any of the others. I'm looking over at the schedule, and my take on it is it touches as examples of opportunities in the business, not necessarily everything I was interested in. They had things on mastering mocap. That's not my thing. So I think, could it use more of the X session examples? Absolutely. Because if you find something you want to do, you want to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
This was set up more as a open table introduction to different things.
Right.
And which I think we agree, it's more as a beginner thought pattern, someone who doesn't know what genre they're going for. Or if they've heard of it, they don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. It did seem like they gave you that overview, like that high level view of what mocap is and audio description and, some of all these little bits and pieces. And I think for those who are more experienced, well, Al, you're already like, yeah, that's not my thing. So there may have been a session or two that you're like, you know what? It's not my thing. For me, I have zero interest in doing medical narration. I have to do way too much studying about pronunciation. Even so, I'm
Yes.
comfortable doing it. And I get chosen a lot and have done a lot of demos for a lot of pharmaceutical stuff. And
Did you say all the time?
all the time, all the time. But I mean, I've done that, but I don't like it. So I'm like, I don't need to sit there and like, I don't even know how to say half the drug names sometimes. Like
Right.
I don't, it's too much.
Sure.
So, but they did have sessions on all these different types of things, just like you pointed out.
Right.
But it did seem like it's a very kind of elementary
It's a
view.
10,000-foot view.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But things like the Pandora panel was, I really enjoyed.
And I think,
Yeah, from that standpoint, I think because it's so high level overview and it's a little taste. Yeah, it's tailored to more beginner talent, I suppose, or people who are even not voiceover yet, but thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a little bit disappointing from that standpoint, right? Because you're paying several $100s to go sit in a room and have people talk in front of you about things that you might go, oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll look into that. But then there's no opportunity for you to go actually learn about that. Whereas some of the other conferences, like you mentioned earlier, have X sessions or side programs where, yes, it costs extra, or in some cases it doesn't cost extra, but there's a small group that breaks out and has, very focused learning for several hours on a particular topic of interest.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
even as a new person, or maybe even especially as a new person, I think there's incredible value there that's voiceover is missing simply because they don't do it. And
Sure.
there's no reason they couldn't. They just don't currently.
Yeah, you're right. You could definitely run two opportunities at the same time.
Mhm.
While you're giving these 10,000-foot views, run your X sessions or specialty sessions for smaller classes for in-depth training.
Right.
Yeah.
And go ahead and charge more for it if you need to. Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Because people, it's been proven people will pay to do a workshop or get that FaceTime with these panelists.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you some of the things, and we'll get to this later, but some of the things that I've done at VO Atlanta and One Voice were absolutely worth the extra cost. Because how else am I going to get 3 hours of time with, 10 other people in front of a casting director from Disney?
Right. And not for nothing, they did have that at That's Voiceover. They did have, but we don't know how they chose those folks. I think it was also they submitted a demo in order to be selected, but it was only a few of them.
Well,
and again, it's like,
and it wasn't
how?
exactly that. So there were the DreamWorks thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think they picked 4, may have been 6, I don't remember. But it wasn't a small group workshop, really. They were on stage in front of everybody.
Okay.
Which is an entirely different dynamic.
That's a very different dynamic. Yes.
And that's not, a lot of people won't do well with that, right? Because a lot of people do voiceover because they're introverted. They don't want to be in front of a lot of people.
The CBS audition spotlight? I did not want to be on the stage. I'm good not being selected. I said that over and over again because I didn't want to audition in front of all of my peers and, an agent from a major agency. And
it's stressful.
I would not perform my best in that particular environment. It's different if I'm going into a room and it's just them, which you do in that first callback session, right? It's just them. And and a lot of people get very jumped up nerves just going in there for that.
Right.
So having to
but
then
out of
do it on stage,
1,800 people, you made the top 40. So
yes, but
very nice.
I didn't want to. I don't want to kind of like sidestep that because I think that's absolutely an important thing. I didn't know that was in front of everybody like that. I thought they went into a little room. Oh, that's a totally different experience.
You didn't know because it was happening
during speed dating.
At the end of our speed dating session, there were a couple of people that had to leave. And then we were talking outside the room while it was finishing. So it was over by the time we were done with what we were doing. But yeah, so Al, what else do you have about That's Voiceover? Or were you done?
A lot of awards. Vanguard Award, Legacy Award, all worthy things, but at the same time, they still could have doubled up on activities. I think something was missing. I enjoyed it. I'll go back. It was my second live, and I did the online during COVID. But it's due for an upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would benefit from something
Yeah.
more opportunity.
And what's really interesting is how a lot of these conferences, and this is not just one conference, the ones that are in person, way too close to airports for voice actors.
Oh God, yeah, they're all like,
and then
all of them.
So inaccessible.
It's convenient for the conference.
Getting to, yes, but if you've got to do any auditions whatsoever.
Yes. If you bring your road gig, prepare.
You're going to audition between planes.
Yes. After you've turned off any air or heating units.
That was the nice thing about Burbank is they don't have flights at night. I think it was after 10 p.m. There were no more flights.
Right. But you also,
we were
for
at the bar
LAX,
the whole time, though. So
there's the bar.
Wasn't aware.
We had an amazing bartender too. I like to point that out.
That didn't close at 10:30.
Oh my gosh! You can't call yourself a bar and then close at 10:30 on a Friday and Saturday.
Ridiculous.
It's like, wow, okay.
And because of the location, there wasn't another place to go nearby easily.
Right.
So
again, too close to an airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just not accessible. So that was
the other big thing about that particular conference, though, is the associated awards, right? Because SOVAS has an award show, and it is very glitzy, and it is very not inexpensive to submit or to attend.
And once you win, also
not inexpensive if you want the statue.
Are you getting the statue, Al?
I am getting the statue.
Are you? All right.
Yeah, I am. This may be the only thing that I ever get recognized for.
That's not true. I've recognized you before.
We recognize you.
Well, that's
I recognize you right now.
I mean,
Some guy thought I was Wolfman Jack. He didn't recognize me. But yeah, I am. I mean, yes, there is that added expense.
To me, that was an experience. I loved the red carpet.
Experience.
Yeah.
The whole thing was an experience. And we've talked about it on previous podcasts where this is a business where you rarely find or rarely get that response you're looking for. Good job. Yes, This is what we didn't hire you, but this is what you're doing. This was a moment. And I'm gonna live in it a little bit.
Absolutely. And you should. You should.
Talk about glitzy. I don't know what was glitzier, that ballroom or your shoes.
My disco ball shoes.
They were amazing.
What can I say?
Quite good.
I'm a clothes whore.
Well, what can I say? I still want to win one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there is value in that. It is the validation. I would definitely attend an awards gala again, should I have the opportunity to be nominated again.
Yes.
Right. Because that was fun. Okay. Even going into the ladies' room at the Beverly Hilton, I was like, oh my God, Meryl Streep has probably like peed in this stall. There was something cool about that. Or like,
hope they clean the floor.
But it's the whole idea that just weeks after that event, the Golden Globes was going to be held there again. So, I mean, there's this history and it's the glitz and the glamour. And that was absolutely awesome. You're going to pay to go. But I can also say the meal that was served was quite good. It was much better than I thought it would be. Yeah. I thought it was going to be like the rubber chicken dinner. It was chicken, but it was really well done. And not like well done, overly cooked, kind of. It was done the way it should be. Because again, it's the Beverly Hilton, and considering how much each ticket was to attend, and it was nice. It was really, really well done. So
I enjoy going to events like that. And as far as paying for the trophy or that, my rationale, Hollywood Walk of Fame. That costs those people, they pay for that star.
Oh, yeah.
And they pay for the maintenance of it. That's not given.
Right.
$60,000 for the star and then like $20,000 a year or something. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
However, I would say based on the amount of entries they receive, right? And once you find out you're nominated,
Mm-hmm.
how does that not play into the statuette that you receive? I don't know. Although I know that same thing with the Emmys. You can self-nominate for those as well. It's a whole thing. I get it. But I guess it's just when you configure the cost of the ticket to go, your nomination, you had to pay to submit.
Yep.
And then you pay if you win. But I
Yes.
think, didn't you get a winner pin?
I did. I just opened a GoFundMe to pay for everything.
There you go.
There you go.
Perfect. Perfect.
I sent it out to my fan club, and my mom, she sent $2.
Hey,
So
go mom.
I'm good there.
All right.
So yeah, I would go to the awards again if I were nominated.
Yes.
I would not if I'm not. Not that I don't support everybody who is, but it's a lot of money and
it is a lot of money. Yeah.
And it's right before Christmas, so it's not the most convenient time of year. And it's awfully long.
Telling you what, if we're in it next year, if we happen to get lucky enough to get in it next year and it happens to be in New York, I'm there, baby.
Why would we get in? For our podcast?
What? I know, right?
Well then,
Well, they didn't listen to this.
We better raise the bar.
Better raise that bar. So tell me about the awards with, is it One Voice where you don't pay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, do they have a ceremony and all of that too, or?
They do. So you pay to go.
Okay.
But you don't pay to submit. You can submit, I think it's up to 12 things.
Okay.
Holy smoke.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And there's, I don't know, 30 categories maybe.
Is there a podcast category?
There might be. I don't remember.
Hey. All right.
I mean, I wasn't podcasting at the time, so I don't know.
Look at you now, Will. What?
Look at me now. I could win all the things. Yeah, I forget what the ticket price was. It was less than SOVAS was.
Okay, but it wasn't at the Beverly Hilton, just going to say.
No, it was at the hotel, But
and how many people were there?
A couple hundred. It was full. They sold out.
Okay.
But yeah, you don't pay to submit. If you win, you don't pay for the trophy, and you get it right then and there. It's a nice little, I think it's glass.
Ooh.
Little
yeah.
carved thing. It's cool looking.
Is it already printed out with the winner name, or do you have to get that later?
I think it's already ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody knows ahead of time.
Somebody knows, but here's the other thing about it that's cool is they keep, unlike SOVAS, where they announce all the judges online, you have no idea who the judges are. I mean, you could probably guess because I'm sure it's some of the same people every year, but they don't announce it. They keep it secret who the judges are until after. And the people judging are not told who anyone is either. So the material that they're judging is all anonymous.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So
that's cool.
It's all as up and up as it can be.
Blind taste test. And
I'm given to understand that they actually lose money on that event every year because basically what you're paying for is the 3-course dinner, and they just
the
eat
venue.
the cost of the awards and the room and stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Does VO Atlanta do awards or no?
No. No, they don't.
They're the ones that do the X sessions, though, which
They
are
do
the
X sessions. Well, so One Voice also has, I don't remember what they call them, but they also have little side programs as well. And not all of them cost extra. So some do, but then they also opened up and they limit how many you can do. I think it's one of the free ones that you can do. But they open it up at, a given time and day, and you go sign up for the one you want. That wasn't strictly policed, though. There were things where people were, whoever was teaching was like, yeah, come on in. Who cares? So
nice. Okay.
Okay.
Kind of good, but not, especially if you're an attendee and you
paid to be there. That's one thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you had to have the lanyard to get into the space.
Right.
So you have to have at least bought a ticket to the conference, but
dang.
The free room. It was only a free one, I think, that I'm thinking of. But there was a free one where it was supposed to be limited to 12. But then there were a couple of people that came in and they were like, "Yeah, sure, come on, whatever, I don't care." So,
okay.
But they had, I want to say, probably about 4 or 5 different rooms of the main program that was happening at the same time.
So that's kind of one. So that's kind of a big difference too. Instead of just one room that kind of changes out
Right.
speakers every hour or whatever, this was several different rooms with, like, you had to pick and choose, which is
Right.
kind of nice because you could look at going, medical narration, I'm out. Oh, audiobooks.
Right.
Ooh,
Right.
but
So you don't lose an hour.
right.
Right. So there's something else
Sure.
going on that, and then there's the downside, like, oh, I want to go to both of these things, but, you want to go to two things at once. Obviously you can't, but there's
Right.
video replay, which was included
Right.
in the ticket. So that's cool.
Ah.
That's nice.
And VO Atlanta was the same way. So VO
Right.
Atlanta is kind of the same deal, but much larger. There's, I don't know how many rooms going on, 12? 15?
Wow.
I don't know. All different programs. And the cool thing about them is there are several different tracks. So there's like an audiobook track where there's programming on audiobooks the whole time.
Okay.
VO Atlanta has a kids program. So
Okay.
2 of the 4 days, you can have your kid in the kids program and they'll learn how to do voiceover as a kid. And then they've got the X sessions, which, they're $200 a piece, I think. And again, it's a small group, 12 people, and it'll be with like a casting director or a coach or whatever on a particular topic. So it's kind of like going to a group coaching session or a workout.
workshop.
Sure.
Yeah, it is a workshop on a particular topic that is actually useful. That is exactly the kind of stuff I was talking about. Like, that's what I want out of a conference.
And see, and I would say that's more of an intermediary to professional level, because if you think
Yeah.
people who are just dabbling to see like,
Right.
do I like it? It's going to be a lot of extra money and a lot of extra
Yeah.
time for something that
Sure.
if you don't even have a demo, why are you there?
Sure.
Right.
In the
Right.
extra sessions. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But with the main ticket going to all the other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
there's something for everybody at all levels.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah,
And
that is definitely something that SOVAS could use to their benefit. I mean,
Sure.
Absolutely.
For more
Sure.
of a draw.
Absolutely.
Not that there weren't a lot of people there, but it's definitely something that would be enticing to more people.
yeah.
I think across the board, there's always room for improvement for all of them. I mean, one of the ones that I've attended almost religiously, and I'm a little disappointed I'm not doing the Costa Rica vocation this year, just because of time-wise. I did Cancun last year. I was doing their online programs previously, and I learned so much about the business as far as creating a spreadsheet, learning about, do I want an LLC or do I want an S Corp, or am I not ready for
Right.
that yet?
Mhm.
And then the sharing of documents in terms of like somebody already set up this really easy, a little bit like Voiceover view, which is maybe another podcast in terms of like CRM and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Somebody
absolutely.
had
And we can have her on. She would be happy to
that
talk
would be
about it all day
wonderful.
long.
We should do that for sure, because I think it's important to understand this is a business, and that is really a conference about the business aspect of voiceover. It's very interactive. A lot of times people go up there and say, please interrupt me. And they do. But the idea that it's more like, we're here to teach and we're here for you to learn and for you to be networking, not with just one another, because there's so many events going on, but it's just really helpful. And it just happened to be in Cancun, which is, really nice because my family sat by the pool and enjoyed that while I was,
Sure.
having breakfasts with an amazing casting director, in something that's outside of voiceover, to be honest. You can sit there and talk about other things.
There's so much in the way of basics that you don't even think about that you could pick up at one of these sidebar meetings or sidebar classes. The basic sending out emails, subject lines, just the little things that anyone in the business could always use a refresher on.
Right.
Because either it's something you don't know how to do, or it's something that you've done so many times that it's wrong. Or it's not getting you noticed.
You've done it so many times.
Right.
Wrong.
But can I honestly say, for all of the conferences, I do feel like it's a safe space for all voice actors. And I really feel like our community, no matter what level you're at, I really do feel like we lift each other up. I know that sounds really like cheesy, but it's true. I mean, I've met folks like yourself as well as other people at the conference that I just really there's a lot of times I'm getting casting notifications, not me. I'll send it to somebody else who I know that's their thing. And that is invaluable. And that experience, I have to say, has been my personal experience with meeting folks at the conferences, no matter what the venue. So
Sure.
that's really helpful. But, there's always room for improvement for all of them. With everything else, I think that we'll talk about on this podcast, it's a lot about finding what's right for you, finding what's right for where you are in your journey, because it's so different for all of us. And find out how other people have, what do they get from going to a previous conference? Like just the way you talk about One Voice, Will, it's like in VO Atlanta. I'd like to go. I wish I had more time, because this coming year, I'm only doing one conference and possibly an award ceremony if that happens later in the year. But the conference, it's not exactly a conference. It's more of a very small group. Yeah. So
I'm doing that one too.
You're doing that one. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It was really one of those, But again, it depends on where you are in the journey, right? I feel like that's where we are, and where we need to go with our journey is this really small group, really like hyper-focused on not just the business end of it, but also that networking opportunity, and really figuring out like, what can we do to really take it to the next level? What refinements do we need to do in either the auditioning process, or how to reach out to certain agents, casting directors, things like that, industry folks.
How do we raise the bar?
How do we raise the bar?
That is definitely not for the faint of heart. You don't want to say, gee, I want to, my people at church say I have a good voice. I think I'll drop X amount of dollars and do this.
Right.
I'll drop more than I paid for my booth to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to be at a point where you're ready to raise your VO bar.
Ready.
Or crazy.
Or that.
Crazy. Oh,
combination,
crazy. Okay.
Combination of both.
Maybe a little of both.
I think it's, that particular opportunity is one that I didn't want to pass up. And I felt like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, now's the time. And I will probably, if I'm honest, it's probably the only time I will do something like that, only because of where I am in the journey. I don't, I would like to, at some point, be invited to as a speaker at some of these conferences versus always being the attendee. I'd like to be the speaker. So we'll see.
Maybe we can do a podcast there.
Yes.
See, a live podcast of what's happening. Yes.
Take questions from the audience.
We can absolutely do a podcast from, say, VO Atlanta or One Voice, but, you two would have to come. So there's that. I would like to say that I think it ain't going to be this year. That I know for sure. It cannot be this year. But that's okay, because we're, our podcast has so many interesting topics that hopefully next year it'll be raising that bar.
Legs.
Yeah.
It's got legs. Listen to you.
I know. And my beverages are empty over here. I need a staycation, a Havana staycation.
Last call!
Well, yeah.
It is time for last call. Ooh, go for it, Al.
When you get the opportunity, grab any information you can. Enjoy the moment.
Nice. I would say if you're only going to go to one conference, VO Atlanta is probably the one, because there's so many different things happening there and so many different people that you have the opportunity to meet, because it's so much larger than all the others. That's not for everybody. Smaller is better for some people, in which case I hear great things about Mavo. I've never been, so I can't comment firsthand. But I would say if you're only going to do one, VO Atlanta is the one.
I thought it was Mavo, but that's my Europeanness speaking. Mavo, darling. For a last call, I would say that I think you need to find out what's right for you. Just a little bit of what you've both said. So check them out, see what they offer. But if one of them happens to be closer, do that. Or if it's online just to get a idea, try that.
Sure.
Make sure you don't ruin your budget and go to all of them. Just try to fit in what works for you. But definitely take advantage of the networking opportunities, even if it's just with other voice actors, because there's a lot to be said about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Woot,
Well,
woot.
thanks.
Right.
We'll see you next time.